no incident.
Or what?
Smooth sailing. No mishaps.
We didn't meet up with the highest Roy's. You know the highest Roy's. The state cops. The cops. Those are the highest Roy's. You say that to Phil Saderich. You say you playing the highest Roy's. Yeah. No, who are the highest Roy's now? Yeah, the state cops. Okay, we're in the midst of dealing with a very, very interesting situation where you have a mixture or concoction of something that has a kedusha shvius with something that doesn't have a kedusha shvius. So the question is, and now it comes to Zman Beer, you want to make sure to take care of business. So it says over here,
Which Mishnah?
Mishnah Zion, Perik Zion, Mishnah Zion. Maybe close the door. It's no good.
Shut them out. Everyone just thinks in their own world. Some improvement, yes.
So the question is, what's the status of this? Because you have partially that it has Rech Chodesh, and even if the majority is not, what's the status? Do we have to worry to do beer on this because it's mixed up? It's one entity now. Is that Vered Chodesh Shekavshu B'Shem Yoshit? You lock it the Saverid. You take out the Vered before the Zman Beer comes. And that way you'll be saved, that you can save this concoction that you made of perfumes or spices. So he explains. In Kavish Vered Shel Shvius, you went and you pickled, I don't know, it's a different word for it, I don't remember off the top of my head. Kavish, if you, yeah, but Kavish
Preserved?
Preserved meaning, it was, not Kavish. Kavish normally means you do it with...
Kavish is soaked.
So, yes, that's a good word. If you soaked away and you did it together, so therefore it has now all the different spices. So some of them have, the Vered has Shal Shvius, Sheish B'Kedusha Shvius, B'Shem Shal Hashana Shvius, and you had other types of oils that came from the 6th year. Shein B'Kedusha Shvius is Yoitzi Es HaVered Mitoch HaShemen, L'fnei Hazman HaBiyah Shel HaVered. As long as you take out that actual vered, the flour that shouldn't give any more into it, after the Zman Biyah, the halacha will be the shemen's mutter. Now, what does this mean over here that the shemen is mutter? So because mutter can have different connotations. Mutter can mean, okay, it's bottled and there's no problem. No, it doesn't mean that. He says, over here, what the intention is not that it's mutter and we don't have to treat it anymore with kedusha shvius. Because at the end of the day, the flour did give a type of perfume into this concoction of different oils. And any type of food item, even if it's chulin that received the taste of shvius prior to the zman, what we call beer, also behefsinu b'schari kedim per shvius. You're not allowed to use it and destroy it, let it rot or use it for business purposes. We're going to see. El hakavona he shem yoytzi es havered min Hashem l'fnei zman abiyah. Over here, when it says it's mutter, the intention of the Mishnah is that if he took out the actual flour, the actual rose from the spoil before the zman abiyah, Yashem mutter b'achil gam lach zman abiyah shel havered. Even though it became the zman abiyah of the vered, since the actual flour was no longer in there after that time, you'll be able to use it for your eating purposes. Because what's the obligation to be mavayir doesn't happen on time. We know there's a concept, we're going to see. This is a very important rule of thumb, which is different than a lot of other places, which we'll see soon. Because time of shvius that's below in the meichel after the time of beer is considered as if it's mavur l'chal of beer. Vis-a-vis beer, there's not chal. Because let's say you have what's the typical case of time? We know there's a universal halacha of tam ki'ikah, right? Over here, we're not saying that. Legabe the din of beer, even though it has the tam, the taste. So we say tam is ki'ikah. Let's say you have a piece of meat that falls into a pot of milk. And then you take out the piece of meat. If it's nice and tam, famous halacha, sech chulin, kuf, kuvav, kuf, well, depends where it's tzadik vav, over Masech B'chum. The halacha will be what? The halacha will be that since time ki'ikah, it's as if the ik is still there. Over here we're saying, l'gabe the zman abiyah, we don't say that. Ula. Okay, so this, you see, at the end of the day, it's time, there is a certain chashivas to that time that you still have to eat it. So basically, we split the baby in half over here. We're splitting the baby in half. We're saying that since it has the taste of shvius, you have to use it for eating purposes and not for commercial purposes. And not let it run. But l'gabe the din of biyah, we say that we don't partake in it. So it's not 100% that there's no problem here. So over here, what he's bavarning from older Mefarshim here is that mutter doesn't mean, okay, you're good to go and you can do whatever you want. Not true. Mutter means only over here that you're allowed to eat it. Ula. However, let's say you procrastinated and you took out the flour 3 weeks after the time of beer. You can't even eat it. Because this already saturated from the vered even after the time of beer. The time and that time will prohibit the shemen, like we're going to learn. Now, what we're coming out over here is that time is something only if it comes in after the time of beer. Now, interestingly enough, the Chazon Ish has a completely different perception to this Mishnah. And he brings down, Ulam ha-Chazon Ish befarish lehepach. He doesn't learn it in this fashion, and he goes the other angle. And he learns, Gamim yoytzi saverd ma'Hashem l'fnei zman habiyah. Let's say you took out the flour even before the Zman of the Bia, he holds Yischai Hashem Abiyah K'shigi Zman Abiyah Shal Aver. The Fishechiv Vir Chal Gam Al Tam Beluah. He holds there's no such thing. We know Tam Ke'ika.
The bottom shot is that we're still saying Tam Ke'ika, it's just that when it falls in, it's considered like it's Nevuah.
1 minute. Let me finish. The Chaznish, you're right. However, this is exactly the point. The Chaznish learns this Rab and Rash differently. We said, at the end of the day, it's there and there is Chiyuv. Chaznish doesn't learn like that. What does it mean that it's muta? It's going to be muta.
The case of the Mishnah will shred.
I know. And the concept is because the very doesn't really. So he holds he can do hefsin and schayr also. And he holds that the varied is nois and tam gom if the varied is nois and tam goma in the shemen ika din and nechshav tam klal, because it doesn't really it's bottled. Right in yibia chmira chachom lachshiv kitam. Avlin hefsin v'schayr lo yachmir. We weren't machma. So it comes out from the Chazanish that he goes to the opposite extreme. What it means mut is up until the Zman of Beer. And you can do even Hefsin and Schayra with it. Only afterwards do we say Tam Ke'ika. So there's different ways of understanding the Rab. This is not a question the Chazanish discovers America. Over here what we're saying is this is how he learns in the Rab.
Technically, the Mishnah could have very chadish in Shavii Yoshua. It's even before.
Yeah.
It's definitely before. Then when the Mishnah says the second case, so
we're not getting into the second case yet. 1 minute. We'll see shortly. Now, so basically the Chazanish, what I meant the Chazanish is because the Chazanish understands this completely differently than the regular Mefarshim. However, there's a Shah Melech over here in Hilchis Macholis Asuros that explains it in a completely different type of fashion, which we didn't mention till now, and it's a completely different caveat. Soiva, he holds Shera kasha machel bola tam bilvad. Well, let's say it's bola a tam a machel going bosa shebishlam yered shel shvius. For example, if you have meat that was cooked together with shvius, nechshev tam a yered kablu a bosa kemuvu kvar ve'enim ischayv achach b'biyah, and then you're not chayv in biyah. That the halacha is that we say that it doesn't have the mamoshes, the actual shvius. So therefore, if it happened before bia, you don't have to do bia completely. Meaning, let's say you do have the actual texture. For example, mashka suyu mitchell kamasugi paris. Let's say you have a concoction of a whole bunch of different types of juices that come from paris. Let's say oranges, apples, and what other type of
Grapes.
grapes, or what is it called? That thing mango. She'echad mehem shel shvius, and one of them happens to be shvius, the mango. Ein lahakshav shvius k'mu v'eris. because it has the texture. It has the juice. So over here, it's because it only has tam alone. Like I said, you took the flour and you soaked the flour in there. So this is what the Shah Melech wants to say. Once you get the texture and the story. They don't make this distinction between texture and tam and taste and flavor, call it. Ella l'daitem gam im this arev mashke shel shvius b'mashke acha dina kitam belua le'inya beer. Hoil ve'im mamosha shvius be'en. Since you don't see the mamosha shvius, you don't see the actual texture. Meaning, if the flour is in there, so you see a flour. But let's say you just have a whole bunch of different juices, it won't be a problem. Anytime, according to these mefarshim, not like the Shara Melech says, but anytime you don't see the actual item, you have a tam nicker. It's not bottled because you can taste it. When you taste it, you'll taste the mango. Because since you don't have that actual flour or the mango inside of it, that will create a situation that we don't consider it. So over here, it goes even a step further, whether we're talking about the actual mamoshes in there or not.
The juice is not the mamoshes?
It is the mamoshes, but we consider it like tam over here. So it goes a step further than what we said before. Before we were saying it only has the flavor. You took out the flour. But if you have the actual texture of the fruit, the juice of the fruit, it's mango, orange, and apple, and the mango is shvius, it'll be problematic. Okay. Now, what happens? It comes with a new thing. If it's this is going to be talking, it's going to say over here, the Yoshin b'chodesh. Now, what is it, the meaning of Yoshin b'chodesh over here? We're not talking about the typical case of chodesh. Normally, when we deal with chodesh, what are we talking about? We're talking normal situations.
Flour after Pesach.
Oh, flowers that come after Pesach, right? That it grows after Pesach, so it's called chodesh. Over here, we're talking about a completely different type of circumstance. That it's Yoshon, meaning it's an old flower of the Shvius year. So before we were talking that the 6th year and the 7th year, now we're talking about the 7th year and the 8th year. So the 7th year is called Yoshon because that comes first, and Chodesh is the 8th year. So once the Chodesh is the 8th year, so you know that the Yoshon is already what we call something that has a Zman beer, because once it's the 8th year, it already passed the time of the Zman beer. So over here, so this, you meaning it's been in there and it's been made to put together after the Zman beer. So the Mishnah says, because of the reason that it got the taste of the vered after the time when you were supposed to destroy it. And we'll continue this in Metchem tomorrow about Chodesh B'Yoshin.
5
But
minutes.
what?
5 more minutes.
Oh, it's 55. All right. So we
Ooh,
can do
5
this.
more minutes.
5 more minutes, yeah. Not 2 minutes, it's 5 minutes.
Sure. 5-minute major.
Okay. I thought it was 10 to, I don't know, made me think that. Okay, so Lamais, at the end of the day, there's the Yoshin B'Chodesh over here. So till now we said, when you first, since the flower was there before there's Mount Bia, let's go simple, there's no Tam Ki'ikr, we will say that you can go ahead and eat it. But if it's vice versa, where it's the 7th year with the 8th year, then it becomes more problematic because you put in that flour after the time of beer, so therefore you can't even eat it because it's a nice and tam in there, and since it's a nice and tam, it's prohibited. You went and you soaked it, the old one of Shvius with the new one of Shminis. It's already past the time of the beer of the Vered. Chayiv levar gamas Hashem Shem in its entirety, and you can't take out the Vered. Lefishanisha b'shemen tam haVered, because at the end of the day you can taste with your palate the taste of this Vered. It's it's obligated. Therefore, it becomes problematic. And this will be different because we want to show it's after the time of the beer. So since we want to show it's after the time of the beer, over here we go to the other side of the coin and we call the old one the shvius, and therefore it's been already past the time of the beer. Halacha zu amur kashaver nikpish b'shemen shekvar giyizman abiyah. This whole halacha is, of course, after the time of beer. V'nims shashemen bolatam shekvar is chay b'beer. So it comes out that when the shemen acquired the taste of this flour, it was already a chiv of beer. You have to destroy the whole thing. Now, this is all according to the way we learned the original way. However, according to the Chazon Ish, it doesn't work that way. It means that not that you're not going to be mechayev to mevayer, but once the time of beer comes, under all circumstances you have to be mevayer. And that the first part of the Mishnah said that you're not mechayev to mevayer is up until the time of beer. But once you have reached the time of beer, you'll be mechayev to be mevayer. Okay, continuing on. Charuvim chadoshim shekavshon b'yayin yoshin. Let's say you have carob, brand new carobs. This again is talking about, it's the same type of situation, but they used to go ahead and they used to take carobs and soak it together with wine. I guess it gave off a taste of carobs. So you went ahead and you soaked it with wines of the 6th year, or Yishanim, or you took carobs of the 7th year, and you soaked it with yain chodesh. In chodesh, it's chayovim b'beer. There's a chiv of beer. Now, we're going to have to see that there's a caveat here when it was, because this is identical to the first case, and it seems to be all of them a chayiv b'bir here. Where previously we said that it makes a difference, and over here we're saying both are a chayiv b'bir. So we're going to see it means only after the time of the beer. I will continue the symmetry tomorrow. שנאמר אדוני חופץ למען צדקו יגל תורה ויאדיר.
Grace and bear.